She left you. Maybe it was sudden, maybe it was slow, like watching a candle burn out one flicker at a time. But no matter how it happened, the silence she left behind is now louder than anything you've ever heard. You lie there, staring at the ceiling, wondering what you did wrong, replaying every moment, searching for a sign you missed. What if I told you this isn't your end? What if I told you the moment she walked away was actually the moment you began to win? In this video, we're not here to talk about getting her back. We're here to talk about getting you back. The man you were before the doubt, before the heartbreak, before you gave your power away. This is where Stoic wisdom steps in, not to make you colder, but to make you unshakable. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why her walking away may have been the greatest thing that ever happened to you. If you're ready to rebuild, not for her, but for yourself, then this is where it starts. Welcome to Stoic Focus. Hit that subscribe button and let's begin. Part 1. She left you, and that's when you started to win. When she left, it felt like your world cracked open. You sat there in silence, staring at a phone that no longer lit up with her name, watching the clock move while your heart stood still. Every word she ever said echoed in your mind. Every smile, every moment, every plan for the future, all of it shattered in one sentence. I just don't feel the same anymore. That sentence hits like a hammer. You start searching for reasons. Was it something you said? Something you didn't say? Was it the way you looked at her, or the way you stopped looking at yourself? In those first few days, or weeks, even months, the pain feels endless. Your appetite disappears. Sleep becomes a battle. You keep thinking if you could just talk to her one more time, explain how much you cared, maybe she would come back. But deep down, you know she won't. And even if she did, it wouldn't be the same, because the moment she walked away, something inside you broke. But here's what no one tells you. Sometimes something has to break so something better can be built. This is where Stoicism enters, not as a shield to block your emotions, but as a tool to understand them. Stoicism doesn't tell you to stop feeling. It teaches you to stop being controlled by what you feel. She left. That is outside your control. What you do with the pain, that is yours. You can choose to let it define you, or you can choose to let it refine you. Right now, your heart is screaming for answers. Your ego wants to prove your worth. You want her to regret. You want her to miss you. You want her to feel even a fraction of what you feel. But that mindset only traps you deeper in the past. And Stoicism is not about the past. It is about presence. It is about what you can do today with what you have, where you are. The truth is, if someone can leave you without looking back, they were never meant to stay. And maybe you were so busy loving her that you forgot to love yourself. You made her your world. You put your dreams, your purpose, your strength in the back seat just to keep her happy. But what did it cost you? Your peace, your identity, your power. When she left, you were forced to face the silence. And in that silence, you meet the real you, the man underneath the neediness, the fear, the anxiety, the one who was always there, just waiting for space to breathe, the man who doesn't beg, the man who doesn't chase, the man who rebuilds. That's who you are now becoming. This is not about hate. It's not about bitterness. It's not about pretending you never cared. It's about choosing not to let heartbreak keep you stuck in place. It's about turning pain into progress. You don't win by proving her wrong. You win by proving to yourself that her absence cannot define your life, that her love was not your peak, and her leaving was not your end. Every emotion you're feeling, the sadness, the anger, the confusion, that's fuel, that's energy. And you can either waste it on old photos and unread messages, or you can use it to build something that lasts, a stronger body, a sharper mind, a clearer purpose, a future where you don't just survive, you lead. And maybe one day she sees you again, hears your name, stumbles on your photo, and realizes what she lost. But by then, it won't matter, because you'll have grown so far beyond the version of yourself who needed her, that her opinion will no longer hold weight. She was a chapter, not your story. A Stoic man understands this. He doesn't run from heartbreak. He walks through it, step by step, breath by breath, until one day, without even realizing it, he's no longer walking in pain. He's walking in purpose. So no, she didn't break you. She revealed to you just how much more you were capable of. And that's when the real journey began. That's when you stopped being the man who was left and became the man who no longer waits. She left you, and that is when you started to win. Part 2. Master your emotions, or be owned by them. You feel the fire inside your chest. It comes in waves. One moment, you're calm, even numb, and the next, your mind is spinning, heart racing, jaw clenched. Maybe it's when you see her name pop up somewhere online. Maybe it's just a memory that flashes out of nowhere. Maybe it's just silence, that deafening kind of silence that reminds you she's really gone. And in that silence, your emotions rise like a storm. You want to reach out. You want to scream. You want to fix it, undo it, control it. But let me tell you something that could change your life if you let it in. If you don't master your emotions, they will master you. This is one of the core lessons of Stoicism. Not to feel less, but to be ruled less. A Stoic man doesn't avoid emotions. He faces them. He acknowledges them, but he does not act blindly because of them. Your pain is real. Your heartbreak is valid. But your reaction, that's your responsibility. Most men lose themselves after heartbreak not because she left, but because they hand over their self-control. They send that late-night message hoping for one more conversation. They scroll through her photos looking for signs of regret. They spiral. They fall into a pit of self-pity, thinking maybe if she sees how much it hurts, she'll come back. But pain is not a strategy. Emotion is not a compass. And if you let your feelings dictate your actions, you become powerless, not because she took your power, but because you gave it away. Let me make this clear. You are allowed to feel. You are allowed to cry, to miss her, to grieve what was lost. But you are not allowed to stay there forever, because the man who stays in that emotional fog will never become the man he was meant to be. The Stoic path begins when you stop reacting and start responding, when you take a breath before you reply, when you sit with your feelings before you act on them, when you realize that silence is often stronger than any word you could ever say. Your emotions are not your enemy. But they are not your guide either. Think of them as a fire. A weak man lets that fire consume him. He lashes out. He collapses. He texts. He calls. He begs. But a stoic man, he contains the fire. He doesn't try to kill it. He uses it. That fire becomes fuel for the gym, for the grind, for the clarity that can only come when you stop letting your heart lead you off a cliff. There's something magnetic about emotional control, not coldness, not numbness. Control. It's the man who can stand still while the world expects him to fall apart. The man who smiles calmly while others wait for him to break. The man who doesn't need to explain, doesn't need to react, doesn't need to prove a thing. That man becomes unshakable. And ironically, that's when everything begins to shift. Because she expects you to break. She expects you to fall apart. She expects tears, apologies, maybe even desperation. But when you don't give her what she expects, you reclaim your power. She starts to wonder. She starts to doubt. She starts to feel the absence, not because you forced it, but because you allowed it. But here's the key. You don't master your emotions to make her regret. You master them to make sure you never depend on anyone to feel whole again. That's what Stoicism is about. The man who needs nothing controls everything. The man who chooses peace over chaos, discipline over reaction, and silence over begging, that's the man who walks through loss without being lost. You're not here to get even. You're not here to get her back. You're here to get yourself back, to become the version of you that doesn't flinch in the face of emotional chaos, to be the man who no longer texts because he feels lonely, who no longer posts to be noticed, who no longer acts to get a reaction. You become the man who acts with intention, who trains his body, sharpens his mind, and protects his soul. You stop being reactive and you start being relentless, not toward her, but toward your own growth. And the more you step into that version of yourself, the less her opinion matters, the less your past defines you, the less you need anyone to validate your journey. And that, right there, is where you win. You win when you feel the pain, but don't let it break you. You win when you feel the fire, but don't let it burn you. You win when you feel the pull to go backwards, but you keep moving forward anyway. This is the essence of the Stoic man: controlled, clear, committed, not to what was lost, but to what is possible. So the next time your emotions rise and you want to act, remember this: the strongest move is often no move at all. And the most powerful statement is silence backed by purpose. She left, you stayed. Now make that mean something. Master your emotions, or be owned by them. The choice is yours. Part 3. Walk away and let her feel the weight of losing you. There comes a moment when the most powerful thing you can do is nothing. Not explain, not argue, not text, not even say goodbye. Just walk away. And not as some dramatic gesture, not to make her chase you, but because you finally understood one thing clearly. Your value doesn't beg to be seen, it doesn't scream, it doesn't knock twice, it moves on, quietly, with dignity. That's what a Stoic man does. He doesn't cling to someone who's already let go. He doesn't try to convince someone to stay. He simply walks and lets the silence speak for itself. When you walk away, you send a message without saying a word. You reclaim your power, you tell the world, and more importantly, yourself, that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. A Stoic man understands that not everyone deserves access to him. Not everyone should be allowed to stay. And the moment someone chooses to leave, they have shown you their truth. Now it's your turn to show yours. The truth is, most men stay too long. They keep one foot in the door, hoping she'll change her mind. They stay emotionally available, even after being emotionally abandoned. But that only deepens the wound. When someone walks away from you and you stay put, you're not showing love, you're showing dependence. And Stoicism teaches us to be whole on our own, to love deeply, yes, but not blindly. And when that love is no longer returned, a Stoic man knows what to do. He walks. And when you walk, something shifts in you and in her. Because as long as you're still around, still hoping, still waiting, she feels safe. She feels like you're an option she can come back to. But when you disappear without explanation, when you withdraw your energy, your time, your presence, she starts to feel it. And people always value what they fear losing for good. Let me be clear. This is not about manipulation. This is not about playing games. It's about protecting your peace. Walking away is not weakness. It is strength. It's the moment you decide that your dignity matters more than being chosen by someone who already chose someone else. And when you walk without turning back, you show the kind of strength that few men ever learn, the strength of letting go. You see, walking away is not just physical. It's emotional, mental, spiritual. It means no longer checking up on her, no longer fantasizing about her return, no longer letting her decision echo in your mind. It means creating distance so healing can begin. It means facing the pain head on and refusing to numb it with false hope. And here's the thing, she might not feel the loss right away. She might feel free, even relieved. But as time passes, and she doesn't hear from you, doesn't see you watching her stories, doesn't sense you orbiting her world anymore, that's when the realization hits. Not because you tried to make her regret, but because you truly moved on. You made her absence irrelevant. This is where Stoic focus becomes your foundation. You stop being reactive. You start becoming intentional. You don't walk away to make a point. You walk away because you finally decided that you are the point. You are the priority. You are the one who now chooses who gets access to your time, your energy, your heart. And if she couldn't see your value when you were close, then she doesn't deserve to see it now that you're far. One of the hardest truths to accept is this: people don't always come back because they love you. Sometimes they come back because they lost control. They come back to see if you're still available, still waiting, still soft. And if you are, the cycle begins again. But a Stoic man doesn't enter the same fire twice. He doesn't reopen closed doors. He doesn't seek comfort in what already hurt him. So when she does reach out, and she probably will let her meet the man who no longer needs to reply, the man who no longer waits for closure, the man who is too focused on building the next chapter to reread the old one. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. That's the reward for choosing yourself. Walking away isn't about making her miss you. It's about making sure you never miss yourself again. It's about finding peace in the space she left behind and filling it with purpose. And once you do that, once you truly walk in silence and strength, you'll see the power in detachment. You'll see that you didn't lose her. You lost your illusions. You gained something better. You gained yourself. So remember this. When someone chooses to leave, let them. But when you choose to walk away, don't look back, not even once. Let your silence echo louder than any words ever could. Let your absence be your answer. Let your discipline be your victory. And let her feel what it's like to truly lose you. Because that's when you win. Not with anger, not with revenge, but with silence, with distance, and with your evolution. Part 4. Silence is power. Let her sit with her decision. When a woman leaves, she often expects a reaction. She expects messages. She expects calls. She expects you to explain, to apologize, to plead. Not because she necessarily wants to get back with you, but because it gives her comfort. It gives her control. As long as you're reacting, she knows she still matters. She knows she still lives rent-free in your mind. That's why the most powerful thing you can ever give her is silence. A Stoic man understands the strength of not responding. He knows that words, no matter how heartfelt, won't change someone who's already decided to walk away. So he says nothing. He doesn't type long paragraphs. He doesn't ask for closure. He doesn't try to correct the record. He doesn't reach out just to talk. He lets her sit with the choice she made, and he disappears. Silence doesn't mean weakness. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It takes incredible strength to resist the urge to explain yourself, to hold back the need, prove your worth, to choose your peace over temporary relief. Most men fail here. They feel the silence and panic. They think, if I don't say something, she'll forget me. But the truth is, silence never makes her forget. It makes her wonder. And wondering is far more powerful than explaining. Here's what happens when you stay silent. At first, she feels in control. She thinks he'll reach out eventually. But then days pass, weeks, maybe months, still nothing, and that silence becomes loud. It becomes heavy. She starts questioning herself. Did he ever really care? Why hasn't he said anything? Did I make a mistake? And that internal doubt does more than any message ever could. But again, silence isn't about revenge. You're not trying to punish her. You're trying to protect yourself. You're creating space not to manipulate, to heal. You're choosing to stop bleeding emotionally in public. You're refusing to give your energy to someone who gave up their seat in your life. And in that quiet, you begin to hear something more important, your own voice, your own thoughts, your own direction. Stoicism teaches us this. Your response to what happens is more important than what actually happens. You cannot control whether someone leaves, but you can control how you carry yourself afterward. When you choose silence, you're not just reacting with strength, you're reclaiming your self-respect. You're choosing discipline over impulse. And nothing is more attractive or powerful than a man who does not chase what walked away. Think of it this way. If you respond too soon, if you show that you're still emotionally invested, you validate her decision. You tell her, even without words, you still have power over me. But when you say nothing, when you make no effort to reconnect, she realizes she no longer holds that power. That's when regret creeps in. That's when doubt begins to grow. And that's when the dynamic shifts. But here's the hard part, staying silent when she reaches out. It might be a simple, "Hey, a like on your photo, a message asking how you're doing. Don't be fooled. These are tests. She's not trying to come back. She's checking to see if you're still available, still waiting, still soft. And the moment you respond, the moment you break the silence, she knows she still has access, and the power goes right back into her hands. A stoic man doesn't fall for breadcrumbs. He doesn't respond to half-hearted check-ins. He doesn't trade his peace for temporary attention. He knows that the longer he stays silent, the more he regains control, not over her, over himself. And that's the real victory. Your silence should not be cold. It should be calm. It should not be filled with bitterness. It should be filled with clarity. You're not silent because you don't care. You're silent because you finally do about yourself, about your healing, about your future. You're no longer reacting. You're redirecting. You're moving energy away from what broke you and toward what builds you. Let her feel your absence. Let her question her decision. Let her realize, without you ever saying a word, that you are no longer waiting, that you are no longer hoping, that you are no longer hers. And when she finally understands that, really understands it, she will feel the weight of what she gave up. And by then, you will have outgrown the need for her to notice. Silence is your reset. It's your power. It's your discipline. And in a world full of noise, the man who can stay quiet holds all the power, because he's the one who speaks through action, through growth, through presence. So say nothing, walk away, and let her mind do the talking. Let her fill in the silence with doubt, with wonder, with regret, while you quietly and powerfully become the man who doesn't chase, doesn't explain, and never looks back. Part 5. Become the man she can't reach anymore. There's a moment after the silence, after the heartbreak, after the long nights and quiet mornings, where something changes in you. You stop checking your phone. You stop replaying conversations. You stop wondering if she regrets leaving, and instead, you start looking in the mirror not to see who you were, but to meet who you're becoming. That's the moment the real transformation begins. That's when you stop chasing someone else and you start chasing yourself. The greatest revenge is not a new woman. It's not making her jealous. It's not showing off on social media. The greatest revenge is becoming the man she no longer has access to. A man who has outgrown the need for her validation. A man who has rebuilt his body, sharpened his mind, and reclaimed his soul. Not to prove her wrong, but to prove to himself that her leaving was never the end. It was the invitation to become something more. Stoicism teaches us that everything external is outside of our control. Her decision to walk away, her reasons, her silence, her new relationship, all of that belongs to her world. What belongs to yours is your response, your actions, your growth. And once you commit to that, fully and completely, something powerful happens. You stop being the man who was left. You become the man who leveled up. Start with your habits. Wake up early. Go to the gym even when you don't feel like it. Eat clean. Read daily. Build your career. Learn something new. Build a body that reflects your discipline. Build a mind that doesn't bend under pressure. Build a life that feels full, not because of who is in it, but because of who you are in it. Every moment you choose self-discipline over self-pity. You widen the distance between the man you were and the man you're becoming. And here's the irony she'll notice. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually she will. She'll see the shift. She'll see the glow. She'll see the strength in your silence and the peace in your eyes. She might even reach out, a text, a like, a little breadcrumb. But by then, it won't matter, because you're not becoming this man for her. You're becoming this man because you were meant to be him all along. You don't level up to get her back. You level up so far that she can't even find the door to come back through. That's not ego. That's evolution. That's what happens when a man stops looking behind and starts building ahead. Picture it. Months from now, you walk into a room. You're focused. You're grounded. You're successful. Your energy has changed. People feel it when you speak. They respect you without knowing why. You carry yourself differently, not because you've become someone else, but because you've returned to who you were always meant to be. That's what leveling up does. It doesn't turn you into a new man. It removes everything that was keeping you from being one. And what about her? She'll remember the man who used to wait, who used to text first, who used to hurt in silence and hope for one more chance. But that man doesn't exist anymore, because now you are the man who doesn't chase, the man who doesn't need closure, the man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel worthy. You are now the one who decides who you allow into your life, who gets your time, who gets your energy. You're no longer driven by emotion. You're led by purpose. That's the Stoic focus, to live by values, not feelings, to live with direction, not reaction. And once you lock into that mindset, no loss can break you, no rejection can define you, no woman can shake your peace. This is the power of detachment. Not that you don't care, but that you care more about your purpose than someone's presence. And in that detachment, you become rare. And what is rare is always desired. But here's the best part. By the time she realizes what she lost, you'll be too far ahead to look back. She will reach for you, but you will be unreachable, because you've built a life so rich, so focused, so full that her return is no longer a reward. It's a reminder of how far you've come and of the man you'll never be again. So keep building, keep growing, keep evolving. Let her feel the silence. Let her feel the absence. Let her feel the weight of losing a man who no longer waits to be seen. Because in the end, the man who needs nothing gains everything. Part 6. The Stoic Mindset. You were the prize all along. There comes a moment, after all the pain, all the silence, all the growth, when you finally understand she didn't walk away from you. You let her go, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. And now you can finally see clearly. You were the prize all along. At first, it didn't feel that way. When she left, when she chose someone else, when she made you feel like you weren't enough, it felt like you lost everything. But the truth is, she lost you. And that's a loss she'll carry long after you've stopped thinking about her. Because while she was chasing something new, something exciting, something temporary, you were becoming something solid, something real, something powerful. Stoicism teaches us that our value does not come from how others see us, but how we see ourselves. It reminds us that nothing external, not love, not status, not attention defines who we are. What defines us is how we respond when life takes away what we thought we couldn't live without. You could have begged, you could have pleaded, you could have tried to fix what was already broken, but you didn't. You took the hit, you sat in the pain, and then you chose to rise, not out of spite, but out of clarity, because you finally saw what she couldn't, that you didn't need her to be whole. You just needed time, space, and discipline to remember your worth. And now, you've changed. Your energy is different. Your focus is sharper. Your standards are higher. You're not looking for someone to fill the silence. You're using the silence to build something bigger. A life with meaning, a mission with depth, a version of yourself that commands respect without ever having to demand it. She might come back. They usually do. But by then, you'll have outgrown the need to let her back in. Not because you're bitter, not because you want revenge, but because she no longer fits into the life you've built. A life built not on chasing someone else, but on choosing yourself every single day. You were never the man she thought she left behind. That man was just the beginning. The real you emerged from the fire refined, focused, disciplined, and now you understand the deepest truth of all the man who masters himself, who controls his emotions, who doesn't chase what leaves. That is the man who never loses, not because he wins her back, but because he no longer needs to. This is the Stoic mindset, not numbness, not arrogance, not fake indifference, but a deep, unshakable understanding that your worth was never dependent on anyone else choosing you. It was always there waiting to be claimed, waiting to be lived, waiting for you to see what was in you all along. So, what now? Now you move forward, without anger, without fear, without any need to prove a thing. You live your life with strength, with intention, with silence when it's needed, and with action when it's time. You stop chasing love and start becoming love in how you show up, in how you grow, in how you hold yourself together even when everything falls apart. Because the man who doesn't need anything from anyone is the man who attracts everything worth having. You were the prize all along. You just had to lose her to finally see it.